getting you on. Now you're good.
Okay, great. Well, I want to welcome everybody to the Board of Selectmen's regular meeting for October 13th, 2020. And please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the
United States of America,
and
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Feel we need to practice that to get that in sync.
I know, we need a better cadence. It does bother me every time.
Scott. You're too slow, Scott. So
well, I didn't know you were following me. I'm following you.
All right. And just a quick change to what's on the agenda. We actually already had approved the September 21st special meeting minutes, so that's a typo. So can I get a motion to approve the meetings for our regular meeting on September 28th?
So,
Aaron, you're chopping in and out. We can barely understand you.
Shows she's on mute too, which is even more
yeah,
strange.
which is really strange.
It's like a delay almost or something.
Oh, she jumped off.
No, she's back.
Maybe she's just switching devices.
All right, I just did drop off school, so I'm on Opening Hill.
Okay. We can hear you now. For whatever reason, it was not working.
Okay.
All right, so moved for the minutes.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion, changes, amendments? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, great. All right, next item is first Selectwoman's update. And I'll pretty brief, but as I'm sure many are in the community do know, the school district has gone to 5-day-a-week in person for grades K through 8. The high school is still continuing with a kind of modified hybrid model. So you'll see a lot more buses going around or more full buses and a lot more cars going around since kids will be going Monday through Friday now back to school. The health department and the schools are in constant communication, and obviously we're watching all the different trends throughout the state. Madison continues to, be in good shape, but obviously we've seen, like, for example, they just put out an alert for New London County this past Friday, I think. And so we want to continue to encourage everybody to follow all the CDC guidelines, wear a mask, wash your hands, and avoid any unnecessary travel, even when you're in the state. Keep that in mind, because we're seeing some communities have an uptick in their positivity rates, and it's affecting the schools. So knock on wood, Madison has not had to do any closures still for their schools, but it's not uncommon now throughout the state for a district to have to close down for anywhere from 3 to 5 days because of a student positive test or quarantine requirement. So for staff or for students. Election operations are in full swing right now. The town clerk is and the registrars are using many of the conference rooms in town hall to work on processing either absentee ballot applications or actual absentee ballots that have been returned. Right now, they've mailed out absentee ballots, over 5,000 absentee ballots, and a little less than half of those have already been returned, completed. And just to give you kind of a point of context, the 2016 presidential election, a total of 1,589 absentee ballots were completed in return. So we're off to a huge start in terms of the uses of absentee ballots right now. And there was a total votes cast of a little over 11,000. So we're on a good run rate to see a big increase in the amount of absentee ballots. And we encourage everybody to get them in as early as possible. The drop box outside of Town Hall, which is by the Beach and Rec entrance to Town Hall, has been actively using. I'm always seeing cars pull in there. And so we encourage everybody to use that. If you're concerned about the mail, it is being monitored and also being, removed. All contents are removed at the end of the day. So please continue to use that. And we know people have taken advantage of that. In terms of town operations, we continue to do some of these a large study that reviews all our town facilities. That's all our buildings, including Town Hall and all the buildings that the town uses, including Senior Center, a lot of our downtown buildings. The consultant that we hired is in full swing on that, has been running around making assessments. There's interviews scheduled, things like that. We're also in the process of our vehicle study, which looks at all the vehicles that town government owns and operates, including all our public works vehicles, Beach and Rec, and our municipal fleet. And that is, we're deep into that, pulling together, looking at the condition and use of those vehicles and what kind of replacement schedule we should perhaps be getting ourselves on. And then also Youth and Family Services. There's been a study ongoing about their services to the community. All of these we're hopeful that will be done either in November or December, so they'll be completed for budget cycle. The other study, these were all things that came out of last year's budget process, is one of our emergency medical services. And I think the RFP has been finalized and is getting posted today, correct, Lauren? So that will be launched this week with the hope to get that done in the early part of 2021, in the maybe February, March timeframe. Also working on finalizing the CIP project list for submission for the 21-22 budget. That needs to be finalized by October 15th and submitted to CIP. Just a reminder, the Town Hall continues to be appointment only until after the election, just because of election security and space issues and the need to keep the level of visitors out of Town Hall at this point for both COVID as well as just security reasons. We're going to continue to operate on an appointment only basis until mid-November. We're still looking at the town gym and determining what programs we feel are safe to offer, because as the weather continues to deteriorate, as we're seeing today, more and more people want to move their activities inside. And so we're assessing our program offerings and seeing what we feel it would be safe to offer in the town gym facility. And then finally, the downtown trash situation, which I know has been a topic. And I've received a couple of emails about that also from members of the public. As many of you know, the volume of trash that we have downtown now has escalated quite a bit because of the takeout activity going on at the local businesses. And there's particularly a problem spot area down near Grand Pizza and Ashley's. And when we finished the summer season, we go into a less frequent pickup schedule. That's part of our contract. But we recognize there is a problem. And we're looking at, adding additional bins, possibly adding additional pickup days back. But we have to kind of cost that out. And in order to kind of address the short-term issue so that people do have receptacles that they can put their trash into. And then long-term, we're going to look at different options. I think this board talked about this contract that we had and voted on in June, understanding that we only had one bidder for the contract and that it had gone up by a significant amount for this next year. So Scott Erskine and his team have actually put together some different options, and I'll probably be bringing back to this board what those might be sooner rather than later, hopefully, because we don't want to see the same problems that we encountered this last summer. So for those who do notice the trash issues, we are fully aware of it, and we're looking at different strategies to mitigate the problem. So that is it for my update. And then I guess we can move on to selectmen liaison reports and comments. Any liaison reports first?
I'll go. Okay, so I'll go first. Peggy, if we could just go back to the absentee ballot slide there for a second.
Sure.
So I just want to comment on the work that the town is doing to keep these ballots secure and safe, and the processes that they've got in place to process an extraordinary amount of absentee ballots. The takeaway message is for everyone that regardless of what you hear in the national news, Madison has the absentee ballot process well in hand. With the variety of drop-off options, the U.S. mail, doing it at the secure drop box at Town Hall. If you get your ballot in and it's received by Election Day, it will be counted. There is no problem with the town process. The other thing is that with all of these absentee ballots coming in, it means that the polls are going to be relatively light. So if you were waiting to see if you should go in person and you were concerned about it, in addition to all of the work that they're doing at the polls to keep the social distancing and keep everybody safe, there, quite frankly, won't be that many people there. Kudos to everyone at Town Hall who is making this as safe and efficient as possible. So just wanted to reinforce that message.
Yeah, no, I think that they've been doing a fantastic job, and both our registrars as well as our town clerk and all the staff. It's been all hands pitching in to make this happen, and they're extremely organized and been extremely responsive. I even got a call yesterday on my cell phone of a Madison resident trying to get an absentee ballot, which I don't know how she got my cell phone, but and I, shot an email off to the town clerk, and there she was on Columbus Day, picked up the phone and called the person immediately. So any questions, you call the office. They're there to help you, and they know the system extremely well, and you can be confident that you'll get the correct advice and be escorted through the proper process. I will say one comment, Bruce, on the polls is, we still only have, less than half of these ballots that were mailed out that have been returned. So we're going to continue to monitor this in terms of predicting, for turnout. And I'll give another update at our next Board of Selectmen meeting, and that'll give us a better sense of what the poll traffic will be. But even if we do have an overwhelming people, if all of a sudden everybody decides they're all going to vote in person, they've got a great plan in place. I think moving District 1 to Polson is huge because it's so much more space involved, much easier parking, greater accessibility. So I think people should feel confident that, to your point, Bruce, that everything will be run smoothly, and there shouldn't be, hopefully, long lines on Election Day. But you got a plan. But we'll update also the public on that as we get closer.
And it's probably also worth adding in that, okay, so if you used to vote at the Senior Center, you're going to vote at Polson this year. The Senior Center is going to be Election Day registration. So there will be activity at the Senior Center, but it's not voting activity. It's Election Day registration.
Right.
Assuming we'll put up signage reminding people too, just in case, because invariably people will show up probably to the Senior Center to vote.
Yeah, they will. And they're definitely, they're going to be putting out signage. There's also kind of communications plan around this as we get closer, so that people are aware. And I think they're also going to give, and when we say Polson, that's the old Hand High School. I keep getting reminded to mention that because a lot of people who don't have kids in the school district now don't know what Polson is. But that's on Green Hill Road, and it's the old Hand High School. So we'll, and I'll, like I said before, we'll send out an update and also give people a sense of what the expectations are for the polls on November 3rd. Okay, back to any other comments, Bruce? Nope. Okay, great.
I have a brief update from the Police Commission. 2 items, I guess, because of COVID guidelines this year. The police department will be covering fewer community events. For example, the turkey trot is canceled this year. I understand it's going to be held virtually. I'm not quite sure what that means, but it won't be taking place in reality. The police commission also had a look at the speed limits on Neck Road and decided that for certain sections of Neck Road, the speed limit is going to be lowered, and there'll be more of that from the police department.
Okay, great, thank you. Anybody else?
So actually, one other thing, Peggy, do we have a plan for Halloween for trunk or treat?
We are working on that I'm hopeful that we can announce this week. I think trunk or treat will not be what we traditionally envision trunk or treat, which is cars on the green and mobs of kids wandering around. I think based on the Department of Public Health guidance and CDC guidance, it is advisable we don't hold that kind of event. And so the police department is working with the Chamber of Commerce to put together an alternative, which might end up being a drive-through. But we're looking at what options, and other towns are doing similar types of things. So I'm hopeful that we can announce something later this week on what the plan would be for trunk or treat.
Okay, so the
COVID version of trunk or treat.
so there will be something.
That's what we're hoping. Yeah,
Stay tuned for the details.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay,
good point.
Great.
Okay, I guess we're ready to move on to citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens' comments, Lauren?
Not at this time.
Okay, then I think the next is an update from the Scranton Library. I'll get off screen share here. And I think we have Board Chair Nicole Wiles has joined us as well. I'm assuming Sunny's on here.
Yep.
Okay, great. And we thought it would just be helpful, for the library to walk us through where they are in the building and also where they are in terms of their reopening plan.
Hey, everybody.
Morning.
Okay.
Good morning, welcome.
Good morning. All right.
Hey,
I
Sonny.
have a lot to share. I'm sure you won't be surprised to hear that.
Mhm.
There's been a lot going on. So I'm going to talk quickly. And I wanted to start with a summary of what we've done so far. So I have our reopening timeline here. We did receive our certificate of occupancy for the new building on July 8th. We started our hold pickup service on July 13th. We call it takeout and delivery. Thanks to a partnership with the Senior Center, seniors can have their items delivered to their house. In July and August, we gave over 300 members of the public self-guided tours on 8 separate occasions. And then on September 16th, we started daily library access hours by appointment, Monday through Saturday. Now, while we were doing all of this, in the background, we were also working steadily to comply with the governor's sector guidelines for public libraries. Here's that list. So these were all the things we needed to do in order to self-certify and reopen for those daily access hours. We instituted daily health checks for all staff members and got them all appropriate PPE, created and approved new policies and procedures, increased our cleaning and disinfecting protocols, posted lots of required signage. We continue to limit in-person services and offer programming online. We installed physical barriers, i.e. plexiglass, of course, and we created a one-way traffic flow throughout the building, including separate entrances and exits. We blocked off computer stations to ensure 6 feet between all users, blocked off water fountains. We removed all non-essential amenities like kids' toys in the children's room, which was a little heartbreaking, but they'll be back. We made disinfectant wipes available near commonly used surfaces. Those products are hard to find, so we are minimizing shared surfaces as much as possible. We are also limiting shared equipment as much as possible. We provided hand sanitizer stations in multiple areas throughout the building. Returned items are currently accepted in the outdoor book drop only, and they are quarantined 72 to 96 hours based on the most recent study findings. for library materials specifically. And then I have a couple notes here down at the bottom. Per the governor's guidelines, bathrooms must be cleaned multiple times a day in order to have those open, which is not possible for us currently. So bathrooms have remained closed. And then, as we know, phase 3 started a few days ago. Phase 3 does raise the capacity limit for public libraries, but it does not alter any of the sector guidelines. So we'll be continuing with all these actions until that changes. So that gets us to where we are now. I picture us on the on-ramp. We have all of this behind us, and now we're ready to pick up speed. The highway is normal life, so we're ready to, get back there as soon as possible. In the future, we are planning in November, the first week of November, to drop the need for appointments, except for computers, and expand our hours slightly. And we have a plan in place that we're working towards in order to expand hours again in January. And then, of course, as with everything else, all our plans are contingent on this COVID roller coaster that we're on, and we monitor the situation, of course, very closely. And as you would expect, access to additional funding, cleaning supplies, staffing, etc., would allow us to open more fully. So we're pursuing all possible options to make that possible. You may have heard that Governor Lamont announced $2.6 million going to Connecticut libraries last week. That money is earmarked for 65 specific libraries that serve urban and rural communities, and we are not on that list. However, there is a Library Stabilization Fund Act currently in committee that would have funding going to all public libraries in Connecticut. So I'm keeping my eye on that. So I wanted to stress that despite the fact our reopening plans look nothing like what we thought they would, we are very fortunate we were able to move into our current building when we did. The extra space we currently have makes it possible for us to appropriately quarantine all of our materials, makes it possible for us to maintain social distancing for both staff and library users, and to designate those separate entrance and exit points, and a whole host of other things we didn't expect when we planned it. Graham is here from the building committee to speak to the construction, and I'm just very grateful to that group that they had already planned for contactless dispensers in all of our bathrooms. So staff have been finding that very useful. We're also very fortunate to have such a hardworking staff to deal with all the curveballs we've had this year. They've continued to maintain our core services while also coming up with creative new ways to reach our community. We're currently averaging 9 virtual programs per week for all different age groups, and participants have told us they've been a lifeline to them during a time when it was very easy for people to feel disconnected and alone. So we're continuing those. Our takeout and delivery services were instantly popular, and in our first full month of that service, we did about 80% of the circulation volume we were used to seeing in the previous 6 months that we were open. So I did want to note the takeout and delivery service, while we're doing 20% less volume than we usually do, that takes up by the nature of it much more staff time than previously. Normally a patron finds their own books, brings it to the desk, and checkout is 30 seconds. The way hold pickup works, the patron makes the request and our staff members have to go throughout the building to locate each and every item, bring it to the desk themselves, check it up, and then package it up to preserve patron privacy and take it out to the takeout area. So they're doing much more work than they have in the past, and they're really dedicated. So we're making sure that no matter what, people can access our collection. A lot of our patrons have told us they still feel much more comfortable with that contactless pickup than they would be coming into the building. So we're going to continue that as long as we can. And no matter what format it takes, COVID hasn't changed our mission at all. We're here to foster lifelong learning, create connections, and provide access to information. So we're continuing to do that no matter how many new ways we need to find to make that possible. So I will turn it over to Graham Curtis. He's here to give an update from the building committee as far as that project goes.
Great, thanks. Lauren, can you pull up my slide, my schedule slide? If you can hear me? Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning. You're running a fast agenda this morning, so that's good. Just want to give you a little
First
update.
step, I think, but
Yeah, I forgot you wouldn't get to this till 9:30 or so, but you're flying. Good, good. I just want to update everyone on the construction, the overall construction schedule. I don't know. I think I don't know if you ever can see that the schedule, which has been updated. So the majority of the building construction was basically completed roughly July 1. There are some punch list items that remain to be done that they're going ongoing. They're relatively minor. There have been some delays due to COVID, getting some pieces, particularly the surround for the generator, for example, and some minor things. But we're trying to minimize any impact to the operation. We're hoping to conclude that, in the next month or so. So on that end, there's a few other minor issues. Skipping down as you know, the more or less move-in happened July 1 and through the middle of July, and then doing transitioning. Also ongoing right now is the building commissioning. That process basically is the process of making sure the HVAC system is fully operational. There's been some various rumors going around. This is not uncommon. This is a fairly complicated, high-performance system. So we've been working through some of the bugs. Also, the seasonal changes. So the operation has to be basically, updated every season change. The summer, the shoulder season with the transition we're kind of in now, and then for the heating system, which will be happening shortly, if not imminently. So we're going that Colliers is our commissioning agent that's assisting us, making sure the system is operational and high performance with the ultimate goal of being, significantly reducing the energy. And Woody has been doing yeoman's work monitoring that system and making sure we work out all the bugs. So kudos to Woody for that. I appreciate the effort above and beyond. The other things that are ongoing, as everyone probably notices, ConDOT is working on the signal and modification. Also included in that is a slight widening of the road for the right turn onto Wall Street. That's going to be about 6-7 feet. It's not a full turning lane, but it's widened enough so that cars can bypass through that. So that's going to happen. And so subsequent to that curb being relocated, we will be doing the streetscape work behind that curb and wrapping it around. And we're currently in negotiations with the enterprise to work that out. There's been some minor tweaks to that design, eliminating, there was a handicap spot that was right on the corner that had kind of a ramp, which was very complicated. And, after discussions with the town engineer, decided that really didn't make sense to have a handicap spot there. It was more of a legacy due to the fact that the front entrance, the primary handicap access was to the front. Now that it's in the back. So it was agreed just to convert that to a traditional space, eliminate that somewhat convoluted ramp up, from the street to the curb. It really wasn't a great place for a handicapped person to be trying to park and maneuver. So it's much safer now in the back. So that's been revised, and we'll be, like I said, as we're negotiating with enterprise to, buy that out, and that will, conclude the major spending. I think currently we're probably 98% constructed of their overall project budget. We are, holding some retainage on the GC just to make sure that we get these punch list items and that these commissioning things are taken care of. And I said the last major bulk construction cost will be the streetscape work. So we're managing the budget. Colleagues, Chip Phillips is doing a great job managing the budget to make sure we don't give any money back to the state, but not spend more than we have. So that's clearly the plan. So we're managing those last 2 or 3% of the construction costs very, very carefully right now. So that's kind of where we stand. If there's anybody has any questions.
Hey, Graham, just a quick question as I'm looking at the schedule here. Are we thinking then that the punch list in the building itself will be done end of month? Is that what we're thinking?
I mean, yeah, it just depends. There might be some lingering things that are back ordered that we can't get, but that's kind of the intent, and we're pushing them to finish it up, to clean up some of these loose ends. As you know, like the handrail hasn't been stained and things like that. So they're more minor nuisance things, but they've all got to be done.
Are we having trouble getting contractors back in the building just given COVID, or is it smooth sailing?
I mean, the tail end of the job, sometimes it drags on. I don't know. I think Enterprise is doing a good job. There has been some complications with the second and third tier subcontractors, getting their attention perhaps. But that's why we're holding money. The key is to hold enough money to maintain their interests.
There you go.
Most people want to move on to other things, but we have enough money we think that'll maintain there. And I think everyone is the best. There's some delays with COVID and some complications along those lines, getting certain things, but we just got to push. We're reinvigorating them to push it across the line, so everyone wants to move on with their lives. Obviously,
I have to admit, I did have a tour last week inside the building, and I was blown away at the quality and all the things that are new and going on there. So appreciate all the hard work of the building committee to make that happen. But you mentioned the new system that we have in the basement there in terms of heating and cooling and sort of Woody's involvement. I looked at the screen that you see when you first come in. I guess it's actually at the exit right now, talking about how many trees are being saved from our heating and cooling system, which I found pretty cool. I thought that was neat. So I think especially kids and families, as they look at that, will really understand sort of the power of our system and what we're doing for the environment. So I thought that was pretty awesome. Yeah,
no, it's exciting. We're excited getting the public in there. And the PV system, which is kind of, people probably barely even notice it's been replaced with a more, a newer, more efficient, high powered system, but it's generating a lot of the electricity for the building currently. So we're hoping to exceed expectations on that, but we've got to get it to work because it is complicated. There's no question about it. There's a lot of moving parts, but
Graham, speaking of electricity, how did the systems perform in the recent storm outages?
So yeah, again, the committee. So that's one of the things. There was some bugs on the electrical side that needs to be commissioned. I mean, I think we're comfortable that the generator is more than capable of doing it, but that's the kind of thing you got to debug as it shuts down to make sure the heating system works. And we're generally the lighting and the emergency life size systems work, but to keep the heat pumps operational during the heating system, that's one of the things we got to make sure works properly, seamlessly. But
well, you had nothing like a week-long power outage to figure that out, right?
It was great. Yeah, it was good. Good to have a try run. We couldn't have set up a more perfect test than to lose power for 3 days, right off the get-go. So, yeah. But again, the contractor's still on the hook. We still have, and we're still, commissioning the systems to make sure it's works. So,
sure.
A lot of buildings don't, just kind of get turned over without a lot of these systems being checked out, without being properly commissioned. So, we're very cognizant, that we need to make sure this system is, going to run properly, because the library does not have a sophisticated in-house staff. So we feel compelled as a building committee to make sure we turn it over and make sure it's running, properly. And Collier is committed to do that likewise. So they've been very helpful, staying the course with that. So.
Just out of curiosity, how does that work from a maintenance standpoint? Is there sort of a warranty process that we're under still for the PV system, or do we sort of move to a maintenance contract now?
I mean, we're still under warranty for a year, and I don't even, technically we haven't even turned the system over, so it's still continuing. There will be the need probably to hire a maintenance contract or someone to, manage the system. And we're talking to various people who might make sense to operate the system. Laura's pretty good at figuring this system out, but I don't think she's going to want to be the person that's completely managing the system. So we're looking for some kind of contract maintenance that makes sense. It's not your typical, it's not going to be your local oil burner guy that's going to be doing this. So you need somebody relatively sophisticated. But once it gets up and running, it should run fairly consistently. And that's really one of our focuses, to make sure the system turned over is going to be relatively, steady running. Even if we sacrifice a slight percentage of efficiency, we just want to make sure it's, the last 5, to chase the last 5% doesn't make sense if it's more complicated than it needs to be as it transitions. Like the shoulder seat this time of year is hard because you're going from cooling to heating. So you got to make sure it's, set up relatively simple so that it can kind of operate automatically.
Good morning, Graham. You almost said the magic words that elected officials and the public want to hear, but maybe I can get you to actually say the words. Is the building going to be completed within budget?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're committed to that. No question. We're watching every penny. So
Thank you.
yeah, no, we understand. We're not anticipating coming back for more money because there is no more money to be gotten. So originally we had the reverse problem. We had more money than we could spend. So we added a lot of enhancements, but so it's a balancing game. The enhancements, we don't want to over enhance the building. So I would say the design committee was very careful with the furniture because that was a tight budget. So, I think the furniture is not, excessive. It's high quality, durable furniture, but it's not, it's not Yale smoking room or anything like that. It's not, some libraries have leather chairs and, overstuffed furniture. Ours is, I think they struck the right balance between, opulent, and durability. So I congratulate the design committee, Laura and Billy, for making sure that the stuff, and people, when you go in there, you're thinking this is, nice, high quality furniture, but it's not overdone.
Even the streetscape stuff looked pretty impressive, Graham, in terms of like the chessboards outside, and I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, it's an outdoor space for the town, which is great. There's Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi available there, so there's always we were going to have a building committee meeting there, and what we were talking about having building committee meetings on the outside, trying to find an outdoor space we could use that we could socially distance properly. So
when is the building committee done officially? Does that mean end of October you guys are wrapping it up? How does that work?
Probably to the end of the year. I would guess we may cut back. There's always some loose ends and stuff like that. It all depends on the streetscape, but
you guys have been at this an awful long time together, so
yes, we answer each other's sentences now. So.
Well, I just want to compliment you again. I haven't been to the library since I think it was July that I went through it. So I look forward to having an opportunity to go through it again now that it's probably further along, because I think they were still unpacking books and things like that. But you guys have done a tremendous job. It's a beautiful building. And I'm hopeful that at least in 2021, we can have some sort of more public, celebration of the library being completed and open. So depending on where things go over the next couple of months, but we're hoping that, we can do something like that in the beginning of next year, early part of next year. I just had one quick question for Sunny, if you could just real quickly, and then we probably need to move on, but the visitor flow that you're seeing, you've been open for appointment only. I'm just curious, are you having a lot of takers for that? And what's the process? So if the public does want to come and have access to the library by an appointment, how does that work? And how many people are you allowing in the building at a time?
Sure. So right now, it's really easy to book an appointment. You just call us on the phone. So we have staff in the building, 8 hours a day, able to do that. We are finding about 20 people coming through per day. We take walk-ins if we have the space. Usually we have 1 or 2 spaces left that people can take advantage of. So they just call us on the phone. We put them on the list, and then at their check-in time, that we ask them to come in the first half hour of that 2-hour block of time, and someone will meet them at the Boston Post Road entrance. So the Boston Post Road is now the entrance, and then when you're carrying a heavy bag of books, you exit directly to the parking lot, so you're closer to your car when you go out. And as I said, with the new capacity limits, we're putting a few additional things in place, and we do expect to be able to drop appointments and just welcome people as walk-ins starting in November.
That's quick. It's coming up.
Yeah, that's coming up quick. And have you considered doing senior hours?
I have, but several other libraries in our consortium did try that out at the very beginning of the reopening in phase 2, and found that it was difficult to manage, and really not very many people were taking advantage of it.
Okay.
So we certainly can reconsider if something changes, but based on other libraries' experiences, we're not doing that right now.
Okay.
I have a
I have to
question.
say
Quick
that takeout process was very impressive to see. I took a picture actually of the room with all the paper bags with the books, and a little boy actually came in and grabbed his book while Sunny and I were standing there. It was very cool to see. So a lot of work going into that.
Aaron, you had a question?
I do. So I realize this isn't a budget presentation, Sunny, but I was just curious, just generally, how has the library done this year, given that it's, it's kind of turned out very different than I'm sure you would have expected during our last budget cycle. I know you mentioned that people are working, having, additional responsibilities. And I'm sure with the supplies that you've had to purchase. So if you're able to, because I realize I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but can you just kind of speak to, like, financially how things are looking for you, for the library?
Yes. Yes. And so, I don't have that paperwork right in front of me,
Sure.
but I can tell you sort of generally that we have dealt with it by spending a lot of time and energy focusing on it. Nicole and I have been in a lot of meetings with our treasurer, Rick, and our business manager, making sure that we can move things around appropriately. So, we are cutting back on the expenses of what we generally spend on programming. Thankfully, virtual programming, even if you're booking a speaker, is less expensive than in-person programming. We did put a few part-time positions that we were planning to fill July 1st for our full reopening. We put a few of those on hold until later in the year. And so we've been doing, strategically cutting back in areas so that we can spend on the most important thing, which is the health and safety of everyone in our building. The additional cleaning from our cleaning service, cleaning supplies when we can buy them. One issue that we have been having is we are required to provide those convenience items, the disinfectant wipes and spray, anywhere there's like shared printers by staff or whatnot. Those are very hard to come by. Unfortunately, there's a lot of price gouging going on when you can get it from a third-party seller on Amazon. So, but we're basically we're really focused on it. We're spending a lot of time working on it, and we have been successful so far.
Great.
Balancing that out.
So just a quick follow-up to that. Have you begun to do the forgiveness calculations on the PPP grant? And are you confident that you're going to be able to get most, if not all, of that forgiven?
I wouldn't say that out loud because I don't want to tempt fate. We have been in touch with the Guilford Savings Bank. They let us know that they've put a hold on accepting forgiveness applications for now, because there's a bill going through that, if passed, could potentially automatically forgive any loans under 150,000, and our loan does fall in that category. So there's a possibility, if that passes, that the whole application process will be waived. And so we're waiting, hopefully, for good news on that. If not, then there is also the possibility that that application will be simplified. So that's the other option, is that it would be a simplified application that we would get done this fall.
Fabulous.
All right, so I think we've had a wonderful opportunity to get updated where things are. We're excited to see more public. I know my kids are dying to get into the library, so so it's nice to know that in November, they can actually cruise through there and see the facility they haven't been in yet. And I know they're excited to do it. So thank you for the update. I'm sure we'll have more discussions, obviously, as we get into budget season about, all the different complicated financial things that we've had to work through this year. But thank you for your joining us, and Graham, thank you, and Nicole, appreciate the update, and we look forward to getting a chance to use the library finally. So thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you. Okay, so that's exciting news that we're moving on from there. I guess item number 7 is discuss and take action to proclaim Wednesday, October 14th, 2020 Domestic Violence Awareness Day. Would somebody like to read the proclamation as part of the motion?
Find it.
Okay, I mean, I can do it. Okay. So I'd like a motion to approve the following proclamation. Whereas the family is the foundation of a safe and healthy community, it is a goal of this administration for our communities to be safe. And whereas the problem of domestic violence affects all citizens crossing all racial, social, religious, ethnic, geographic, and economic groups. And whereas domestic violence is widespread, including 1 in 3 Americans who have witnessed an incident of domestic violence, and with an annual cost to U.S. companies of $3.5 billion in lost work time, increased healthcare costs, higher turnover, and lower productivity. And whereas breast cancer is the most common cancer among women in the United States. And whereas the month of October is Domestic Violence Prevention Month and Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Now, therefore, in recognition of the impact that domestic violence has on the health and well-being of our community, we, the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Madison, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, October 14th, 2020 as Domestic Violence Awareness Day in the Town of Madison. Further, we reaffirm the commitment of the Town of Madison to reducing violence in our homes as well as on our streets. We urge all citizens to participate in the activities planned by battered women's programs and community organizations during this month. Citizens should also take this opportunity to schedule their annual breast cancer screening. This month, let us remember the victims of domestic violence and the victims of breast cancer and celebrate the survivors. Done this 13th day of October, 2020, in the town of Madison, Connecticut.
Second that.
Okay, great. And just real quick discussion. I know this is an annual proclamation that the town always does. Obviously, this is an important issue for our, not only just Madison, but our state and our nation. And I also know that domestic violence has increased quite a bit during the stress and strains of COVID. It has put a lot of pressure on families, on relationships, and on mental health. And so it's important that we acknowledge this. And I think what we'll try to do is put on the town website some key phone numbers for this month of people to reach out to if they are experiencing any type of mental health issues and or are in a position where they need to seek out assistance because of a domestic violence situation. So we recognize that we are under particular duress. So any more discussion on this? No? Okay. All right. Well, I guess all in favor of approving this proclamation, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, great. Thank you very much. And we'll look to the website. We'll have some more resources available about, resources that are available to the community to address these issues. Next item on the agenda is discuss and take action to approve a donation in the amount of $10,000 from Neighbor to Neighbor to help families in need of assistance due to COVID-19.
So moved.
Oh, with our gratitude, I'll second that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. I don't know, is Scott Cochran available for this? No? He is? Okay, great. I mean, I know this is part of an ongoing partnership the town has had with Neighbor to Neighbor. They've been very generous in providing funds to Madison Youth and Family Services to assist people in the community through $500 or less grants, correct, Scott? I'll let you
Yes.
walk through it.
Yeah. And this particular donation goes to extend our COVID impact relief program. We are looking, I think, towards the end of this program, and we've had discussions with Lori Heflin at Neighbor and Neighbor and they were, again, just very generous to provide us with some more funding. We've already surpassed the $50,000 mark in terms of total relief provided. We are looking and earmarking this funding to continue the program that we have. We are changing some of the criteria, and our main goal right now would be just to see if we can stretch and extend the program to people that maybe have not been able to benefit by it as much and may need it going into the fall. So we are capping the total amount or total applications that people can apply for, and stretching a little bit of the eligibility time between applications. And we feel like this is the most responsible way to handle what we have left and to have it out there for people who may be, as we go into this fall with so many uncertainties, be able to access it.
Just quickly, is there these requests what's the typical use for it, I guess? Is it a common theme that you're seeing for people?
Bills. I mean, that's the overarching. So that, and sometimes people are more specific, and it's rent, it's groceries, it's utilities, it's things that I think are taking, that they don't have other money to move or to draw upon in order to pay them. And it's our goal really with the program for people to use this to maintain wherever they are economically, to maintain that level as best as possible.
Scott, do you typically see this time of year, as we move into, chillier times, more focus on heating?
Yes. Yeah. And we have programs that are existing to help people with heating. And we're very busy with that. People will begin looking for what programs are available through the state. And we do provide links to those programs, and we'll advocate and help people to access those things, to understand the application. And we have programming that also fills in gaps. So for people, if you're waiting for eligibility or not sure about your eligibility, or you ran out of oil, we have some stop gaps to help those folks. But yes, it's going to ramp up. This is, the typical busy season for social services is now, late summer and going into the fall and into the winter.
Well, we are very grateful to the Neighbor to Neighbor Foundation for
Yes.
all the assistance they've given to the town. Very generous, and I think well needed and well used in our community. So appreciate all the hard work and their generosity. So I guess we're ready to all in favor of accepting the $10,000 donation from Neighbor to Neighbor to help families in need of assistance due to COVID-19. Say aye.
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 Aye. Great. All right. Well, thank you very much for all your hard work, Scott, and thanks to Neighbor.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Next item is an update on the Sustainable Connecticut program from Dave Anderson, our Director of Planning and Economic Development. So if you want to. Dave.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you guys? So I'll try to be relatively brief on this, but I would like to share my screen because I can give you a little bit information a little easier that way. Everybody see that?
Coming. There you go.
Yes. Yep.
So the Sustainable Connecticut program was started a little under 3 years ago. So it's out of the Institute for Sustainable Energy at Eastern. Why am I listening to myself? All right, sorry, I was getting a little bit of feedback. And it was launched at the actual CCM, Connecticut Conference of Municipalities annual meeting. And the town was one of the inaugural participants in the program. I think we were one of, either 16 or 19 municipalities that were certified in the program in the first year. And you can see on the screen, currently 112 municipalities participate in this program, and there are 48 certified. And in general, what the program is, it's a voluntary certification program. And I'll go through some of the actions, but there's a bunch of different actions that are striving towards sustainability, towards creating a sustainable Connecticut, sustainable community. And you get points for each of the actions that your municipality accomplishes. And so points are totaled, and you can either be a bronze level community if you amass a certain amount of points, which is what we are, or you can become a silver community, which is, I think there's 14 silver communities in the state if you amass enough points. Certification is good for 3 years. So we were certified in October 2018. So we have about a year left on our certification. The first year when we were certified, we had a small sustainability team consisting of Tom Banish, Woody Weiss, and myself. It was a lot of work, and so we tried to revamp the sustainability team for this past year. And so the Board of Selectmen named myself, Woody Weiss, and Francis Pulero from the Energy and Efficiency Committee, Fran Brady, who was at the time the chair of the Conservation Commission, and a woman named Susie Huminski, who is the sustainability coordinator at Southern and is a Madison resident. And so we met several times and made a little bit of progress, but Fran is no longer the chair of the Conservation Commission. He resigned. Francis Pularo had a lot of work commitments that took his time away from the committee, and so it never really got off the ground. And so I guess what I'm here for today is just give you an update to say, we only have a year left on our certification, and to suggest that we consider revamping the sustainability team for this program. One of the ideas that I've brought up, I think, to Peggy in the past and to Al in the past is the idea of potentially combining the Energy and Efficiency Committee and the Conservation Commission and kind of rebranding it, so to speak, as Sustainable Madison Committee. And as we go through the actions, which again, I'll try to be brief, you'll see that the actions fall within those committees' wheelhouses very cleanly. And I think it might be worthwhile to consider that. So just to go over the actions briefly, there's 10 categories: thriving local economies, regarding brownfield development, inventory, local retail options, sustainable workforce development. So when people typically think of sustainability, they don't necessarily think of economic sustainability, but this is definitely a big part of the program. And so it's one reason why I like the program and I want us to continue to participate in it, because I believe it provides a really good broad umbrella of actions that we can strive for. And so I won't go too deep into the website, but when you're a participant in the program, you could click on this action, and let's say 10 other communities got points towards that action. You can go into the community submission and you can get really good ideas of what other communities are doing towards these things. And you can, the intent is that you copy them, that you actually try to learn from others and take it on. So all of the stuff that we share with other communities can be replicated as well. Well-stewarded land and natural resources, develop an open space plan, create a natural resource and wildlife inventory. So that number 2.5, that's the charge of the Conservation Commission. The primary charge of the Conservation Commission is to create a natural resource inventory. So you can see how they fit in very well here. Facilitate invasive species education and management. Again, the Conservation Commission is working on something like that now. And again, I won't go through each of these individually, but sustainablect.org is a pretty good website, and you can look up these yourself. Vibrant and cultural ecosystems, support arts and creative culture, develop a creative placemaking plan, dynamic and resilient planning, adapt permitting process to promote sustainable development, assess climate vulnerability. So obviously with the Coastal Resiliency Commission, we're working towards some of these things. And the reason I'm going through this quickly is I just want to share with you kind of the broad scope of the program, because I know several of you are not familiar with it. Implement complete streets. With the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, this board actually adopted a complete streets policy. In another week and a half, I think I'm scheduled to participate in a statewide program to kind of share our policy and talk a little bit about complete streets. Something we're participating now, the DEP has an EV readiness program that municipalities are participating in to be better prepared for more widespread use of electric vehicles. And so Peggy has asked probably about 9 town staff members to participate in various modules on that. So that's something we're doing now. And so we would be able to get points for that. Efficient physical infrastructure and operations. I know something that's come up in some conversations in the past, develop a municipal energy plan, manage municipal fleets. So again, a lot of this stuff we're involved in now. It'll just help us be a little bit better coordinated. Strategic and inclusive public services. There's a little bit about recycling and food waste reduction in here.
No, I think it's, you know, I haven't had the opportunity to obviously spend a lot of time with you on this. But I think there's an incredible amount of helpful planning tools, you know, to use as part of this program. And also just overlap, right? Because like you said, a lot of this is kind of being, we're touching on a lot of this in the different boards and commissions, but to try to pull it all together under one umbrella, I think could be very helpful. Have you spoken to the chairs of the commissions that you're referring to here, conservation as well?
Yes, I have in the past, and they're both respectively open to the idea. We have not, you know, finalized it by any chance. I think there still needs to be further dialogue on it. But so if we want to continue to participate in the program, like I said, we're good through October 2019, but the next actual certification cycle is either, I think it's either April 2021 or August 2021. So if we want to target recertification on either of those dates, even as late as August, we need to kind of get moving on it. And so I'm fearful that we're going to, if we don't do something to revamp our sustainability team, we're going to get knocked out of this program. And, you know, it's not the end of the world if we get knocked out of the program, but there are a lot of resources available in terms of just, you know, help. There's interns at the COG that help with the program. There's just peer learning opportunities. And there's also some grant opportunities that are available to participating municipalities or certified municipalities. And it's not a ton of money, but it's money that's really easy to access for kind of unique, innovative projects. So I'd hate to lose this opportunity. And I also think there's I talk to a lot of people, obviously, in the different boards and commissions I work with, and then in the residents. There's a lot of people out there doing interesting things or that have the energy to try to do interesting things. And this is, I think we can bring those people into the fold and kind of put them to good use for the town under this program. And so that's why I'd like to figure out a way to revamp.
Dave, just a quick question. You know, obviously, you know, there's a huge benefit to the environment and to our town, just broad sweeping benefits, but are there other tangible benefits that we get as a municipality for participating and getting certified? I mean, is there, you know, breaks, you know, are there costs, you know, kind of both sides of the coin, I guess?
So there's no cost to us for participating in the program other than, you know, time and energy. But there's no cost to the program. There are grant opportunities that have been introduced that are exclusive for participating municipalities that aren't available to anybody else. And those are growing over time. I think we'll see more and more of that. And then honestly, I think the biggest benefit is the coordination amongst what you wouldn't normally consider sustainability, you know, in all the different things we do in town. And then the peer learning opportunities. There's a lot of networking opportunities and you know, webinars and conferences that you can learn what other communities are doing successfully. And I think that's really helpful because oftentimes we work in the silo a little bit and, you know, within our town and to reach out to other towns. And
yeah, so it's fostering collaboration then, which is kind of good. I mean, but is there benefit, I guess, you know, for us achieving gold as an example, you know, is it more bragging rights? Is it competition with other towns? I mean, how does that play out?
It is a little bit of that. Well, obviously it's, you know, the main benefit is setting ourselves up for a sustainable future, right? And that's the biggest benefit.
Yeah.
But the secondary benefit is I do think if we can work towards becoming a more sustainable community, I personally think we become a more attractive community for people to relocate to and move to. I think if we can integrate sustainability concepts into our school curriculum and kind of advocate that we're doing that and market ourselves appropriately with our outdoor recreational opportunities, I think we put ourselves in a position where we become a very desirable community. And we are now, but we become even more so. So I think there's huge upside if we commit to participating. The first round we participated and we kind of just amassed the points and then said, okay, what's next? I think we really integrate this into our way we do business. I think it'll be a huge upside.
All right, last question, then I'll let others talk, but how many points do we have and out of how many?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know what the total is. We have 240, I think, was the first round, which got us the bronze level. But I think Guilford has 410.
See, that's what I want to get to. Yeah.
I think New Haven has like 925.
Right.
So, you know,
Time to step
there's
it up.
opportunities to improve for sure.
All right. Thank you.
Dave, what time, energy, and money is involved in getting recertified?
No money is involved. It is time. You know, the first go around, it was really Woody Weiss and myself doing all the work, and it was a bear for two people to do in kind of a short window. You know, it's from a staff standpoint, the reason I'm asking for this is I can't do it. I literally cannot do it on my own, and I can't do it with one dedicated volunteer. We need a group of people working towards this together. And I think we can put a team together that'll be successful, that'll share the workload, but we need to do it.
Does it help refocus? You know, you were talking about combining those two boards into one. Does it help to refocus their agendas, so to speak,
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. You know,
success?
the Conservation Commission specifically has struggled, not struggled as a commission because they do a lot of good work, but you know, their main goal was to develop a natural resource inventory when they were first established. I don't know, Al, you would remember probably the date, but it was, you know, 12, 13 years ago. And we don't have a natural resource inventory. And part of the reason is because there's a lot of good resources available at the state level. So in some ways, that original charge of the Conservation Commission probably needs to be revamped a little bit. But when they look at through all the different action possibilities within this program, I think you get a lot of good ideas of where you can focus your energy. I know we're doing a lot of work with a couple of the students at Daniel Hand on, you know, putting little videos up about invasive species management. They're working with the Land Trust. They're trying to get in the school curriculum. We're trying to do a lot of things, but if you look through the actions, they're all within those actions. So it's really comprehensive.
But you bring up a point that I think, what if this were, you know, more of a broader committee that included, like, we have somebody from the Land Trust to sit on it, like we pick a lot of our non-town, in addition to having like representatives from, you know, the Conservation Commission and the Energy Commission on it. What if we also had people from other volunteer organizations in the town sit on this and create kind of an ad hoc, get us through August? And then because I agree with you, the concept of merging the two commissions, but that's also something a process we'd have to go through, right, to formally do that. So I'm thinking just more creating an ad hoc sustainability committee, but we redirect energy and conservation to prioritize this, and they pick a few members to sit on this. And then you could have some of these other conservation groups, coastal resiliency could sit on this as well, maybe.
Yeah, so the only issue, I agree with that concept in general. I'm going to share with you personally. I'm on Zoom on different committees 4 nights a week. And we're going to start hopefully an affordable housing group to help tackle the affordable housing plan. If I have to go to a sustainability meeting and a Conservation Commission meeting and maybe attend an occasional energy and efficiency meeting, I mean, at some point, it gets to be too much.
Right.
It's already too much. I see that as a good temporary solution. I don't see it being a permanent solution in any way. I think it needs to be relooked at. And the Energy Committee hasn't met since February. they have not met as a group since February.
Right.
There's probably one person on there that's actually really doing stuff, which is Woody. And the rest of the folks on there, I think, probably would like to participate in various things, but maybe just need some help refocusing.
Mhm.
So maybe as a, oh, go ahead, Peggy.
No, I mean, but that's, I think, what my intention would be, to basically absorb their activities, not formally, but on a ad hoc basis. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Because we have to go through a whole process to merge these commissions, I think. And so, you know, have their whole, you know, it can be a joint meeting of those commissions plus
Yeah.
other people or something.
Yeah.
That's all. I agree with you that, and also those are so specific when you read the Conservation Commission, you know, and there's just so much more nowadays that they could be
Right.
working on, right?
Right, and stuff that's actually seems more fun too, to the
Right.
folks that are volunteering
Right.
their time. I mean, we want them to enjoy their time volunteering for the town, and so they
Right.
do more.
So I'd like to propose that we, that this board issue a charge to all of our committees and commissions to review the criteria that Dave showed us, and to identify and report back to us those areas where they think they have a natural place, and then what activities they're doing to fulfill it, so that we can begin to funnel back into Dave an inventory of townwide activities that are going on in fulfillment. So rather than ask Dave to go out and search for it, ask the committees to review and report back what they're doing.
I mean, we can certainly send out a notice to all the chairs of every board and commission and highlight this. I think that's a great idea, and then let them.
Just a rallying cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then maybe Dave, maybe you and I talk a little bit more about the structure that we might propose for the committee going forward, and then we could bring it back to the board at our next meeting. I think
that
just
sounds
sitting
great.
down and figuring it out, because I don't know all the players involved. I don't know the charge as well for energy and conservation, and then thinking through maybe like people like the land trust. I mean, Al, I know you're on the board of the land trust, but I would think we could perhaps get a volunteer, you know, to participate from the land trust. And then there's other, you know, maybe the historical society even, because in some ways I think there is an overlap between those concepts about, you know, our history and our sustainability going forward. So just thinking through some other volunteer organizations that might be worth adding to the mix on this to get manpower too, because it's just, as you know, it's bandwidth a lot of times. There's all these things we want to do, but it takes time, and it's tough to get volunteers. So we'll send out an email to all the boards and commissions, and then if everybody's good with that, Dave and I will come back at our next meeting and just kind of lay out how we think this could perhaps work. Does that sound good?
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
sounds
I'm assuming everybody's supportive of wanting to continue to get this certification.
Yeah, we want to beat Guilford. Yes.
I just wanted to just generally just it just made me think of something. I went to the Madison Newcomers meeting last night to talk about, they asked me to come, I just talk about our town government, and my focus was on, you know, encouraging people to become involved. So, and there was definitely an interest in that. So I think, you know, if possible, if we could loop, you know, if there are volunteer opportunities, we can send it out to the president of the newcomers. And hopefully, you know, we could take advantage of some of their interest in trying to become more involved in the town as well. So just generally, I wanted to just throw that out there.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I know there are a lot of people that are looking for ways to get more involved. So
yeah, and they just don't. They just don't know how. That's kind of the sense I got. So,
And it's
Right.
probably a lot of the people, Aaron, too, that aren't necessarily connected to a party. I think the folks that are connected to parties always have that channel to, you know, raise their
Right.
hand. But I think it's more times than not, it's the independent folks, unaffiliated.
and so I did emphasize that, you know, you don't need to be affiliated with a party. That, you know, you can go on the website and you can submit an application, and, you know, so that to kind of remove that pressure of people feeling like they have to align with, you know, a party to be able to contribute and volunteer.
I think that as we continue to try to launch this communication plan. Part of that is having a broader reach out when we need volunteers, when we have Board of Selectmen meetings, what important topics are being talked about in town government. I think that all needs to be, hopefully you told them to sign up for Madison Alerts. So we were a little delayed. Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, because we share resources with the school district for our webmaster and our IT department, we haven't been able to do as a full launch and get people to sign up as I'd hope on that. But we're hoping to continue, now that school's kind of humming along and the IT department can kind of take a deep breath. I'm hoping to really start pushing that again, because that is going to be a way for people to find out more about opportunities in town government.
Right.
But I hear what you're saying, and I think that's great to get these people involved. And so Dave and I will come back and come up with a proposal, and then we'll try to move this forward. And I'm confident we've got a lot going on. It's just really pulling it together and maybe targeting a few other areas that might help us, at least retain our certification, if not maybe improve it. So, okay, great. Well, thank you, Dave. And you and I can chat about this.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
So next we've got on the agenda is an update from the tax collector. And I just wanted to invite Colleen to join us, because I know there's been some questions and concerns about how we doing, given the economy and the economic situation, obviously, but also that people were able to pay a lot later this year because of the extension that the Board of Selectmen granted to taxpayers in town. So the final date that you could pay your first installment on your taxes without penalty was October 1st. And so, oops, I'm on the wrong side. There we go. And so I had asked Colleen, and Colleen, is she on the, yeah, okay, great. Colleen, I don't know if I basically took your spreadsheet, and this basically tracks the collection rate as of the period ending October 1st. And then I tried to put it in context of history. And obviously, we're a little bit slower behind than the last couple of years, but we're not out of line, actually. And then I just kind of ran a 10-year average through September 2019 and came up with 53.44. So that's the collection rate that we've had for a total year. Remember, this is mid-year, and then we have another one in January. So Colleen, I don't know if you want to just talk real quickly what you're seeing in the tax office.
Sure. We, overall, I think, we're doing pretty well. We, ending at 53.42, it was pretty close to what we were anticipating. And keeping in mind, this is the end of a first installment. So usually the month following, people realize, we do have situations where, perhaps they forgot and, they will, come right away and pay their taxes. So, I'm pretty comfortable where we ended. Looking at last year, at the end of our first installment collection period, as of 8/1, our collection was 52.71. So taking that into consideration, we're doing pretty well. And, we will continue, to move forward and, see where it takes us.
Doesn't look like we're behind based on previous years, though, does it? I mean, I'm
well,
not
compared
sensing
to last year at this point, we were at 54.16.
Right, but that's like rounding error, though, isn't it? That's not that big.
It's not that big. I mean, I would have liked to have had an extra 700,000. That would have made me ecstatic. However, it is what it is. You know, we have to keep in mind what our community is going through.
Yeah.
So I think overall, the extended grace period was a good program that the board put forward. I think people appreciated it. We had people say, thank you, I just needed a couple extra weeks. You know, so people did take advantage of it, you know, in a good way. I think it was beneficial. And now we just, you know, we just have to keep on pushing forward.
And I think I had asked her to add, you know, because I sat on the Board of Finance during the Great Recession, I guess they call it now. And if you look at our collection rates at this time of year, back in 2008 and 2009, we're well ahead of that. And even back in 2008 and 2009, we felt confident that we were in good shape and we were significant, you know, we were at lower, not significant, but, you know, a point lower collection rate. So I just think it's helpful to give people confidence that, you know, people are paying their taxes in Madison. We do still have an uncertain economic climate that we're going through. And, you know, taxes are due January 1st for the second installment. There's not as much relief out there now that there was over the summer. A lot of the different programs have expired. Obviously, we're hoping to get some more stimulus out of the federal government, but we don't know how that's going to play out. But the good thing is that we're tracking normal, I would say, if you look at this and compare it to the average, where we are now. So I just thought it'd be helpful for the board to understand that. And I think it's an important perspective to have as we go into the budget cycle also.
Colleen, are there any leading indicators that we can look at to give us a sense of where this collection rate is going directionally?
I think we're right in line with where we were last year. You know, again, we'll just have to wait and see. You know, we're going to be having a supplemental list added, you know, for motor vehicles added on in December. We'll see what that looks like.
Colleen, is the collection rate higher or lower on motor vehicles? Do you find people, you know, property taxes they pay, but motor vehicles they let slide?
They typically let slide a little bit. This is normal. Sometimes people will just put things off until the last minute. Some people do make payment, you know, partial payments just to get caught up with where they would want to be. So,
and do we see all of our sectors returning in a historical way? Right, we've got the home, the private home collection, and then we've got businesses. Do we see all of these different sectors on track with historic numbers, or is one group out of alignment?
That's a good question. I didn't really look into comparing those. That's a good question, though. I'll have to.
Right, we would expect the home taxes to be on track simply because they're being collected monthly by the banks and then paid, right? On average.
Correct. We have about, I think it was 40% that is in escrow through your banks. So,
40%, yeah, 40% of the personal real estate.
Correct.
Tax. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess the trick here is to look at look for any warning signs that the trend is about to change significantly, and so whatever advice you can give us about that would be very, very helpful.
Just out of curiosity, what percentage, maybe in 2018, but what percentage of the uncollected do we typically collect? Is it 100%? Is it less than 100%?
Well, the Board of Finance expects us to collect 98.75. Last year we ended at 99.32. compared to the year before, it was 99.4. So, you know,
But that's at the end of 12/31,
that's at the end of 6/30,
end of 6/30.
end of our fiscal year.
Yeah,
Colleen,
they've always
aware of-
underestimated the collection rate. Sorry, go ahead, Al. I know you're trying to talk.
Colleen, I was going to ask you if you're aware of any other towns which are contemplating any kind of deferral of the second payment.
That would have to come from the governor.
Okay. So in other words, there is no public conversation about that at the moment.
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Al, it is something that has been raised on the municipal calls with the governor. Some
Uh-huh.
towns have just asked if they're contemplating that, but nothing has been stated to be forthcoming, as far as I'm aware.
So without the governor's approval, there's no point in this Board of Selectmen having that discussion.
We can't. It's a statutory thing, right? We would need an executive order from the state to do that.
Correct.
Thank you.
So I think and we'll do an update on this in January. And to Bruce's point, Colleen, you know, as you go through and see data and things like that, if there's some troubling issues, please put a red flag up.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Moving on, can I get a motion to approve tax refunds in the total of $225.29?
Ooh, I'm so moved.
Second.
Okay.
Al
all
can
in
have it.
favor? All right, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. All right, citizens' comments. Here, let me unshare.
Do we have any
Any
citizens that
citizens?
hung with us?
Just one, and no one has their hand raised.
Okay, great. Well, I guess then let's move on. A motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We'll move. Second.
Okay. All right. All in favor? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, folks. And this was an early one for us. Are you kidding? An hour and a half meeting?
Big smile on Aaron's face.
We got to keep this trend going.
All right. So just stop asking for things to put on the agenda, Scott, and then we can.
Oh, it's Scott's fault.
Clearly.
Good to know.
I just got bus thrown. Did you see that?
You did.
All right. Thanks a lot,
Bye,
guys.
guys. Have a
Bye,
great
guys.
day.